Thank you. On to item 12. We have the private plan change request for the Whenuapai Business Park. We've got Todd and Warren who've been waiting patiently for hours for us to get to this point. So thank you very much. Kia ora.
Kia ora through the chair. Cool. Kia ora, good afternoon. My name's Todd Alder. Good to go? Cool. I'm a senior policy planner in the Northwestern Islands, and today I'm here to present on the Whenuapai Business Park for a decision on to process this private plan change application. I have a short presentation just to go through some material very quickly. Cool. All right, so it's a private plan change request from Neo Construction Limited. It is for 49 hectares of land of future urban zone to be rezoned to light industry zone. It is this plan change is seeking to introduce a new precinct as well. The general location for this plan change is south of Brigham Creek Road, south of the Whenuapai Air Base, and is approximately 1 or 2 kilometres to the northeast of the Westgate metropolitan area, and it's indicated on that red dot on the screen above. The plan change site, as I said, is 49 hectares. Along the top of the plan change site is Brigham Creek Road, and through the middle of it, on the left there, is Trigg Road. The council owns land that is contiguous to the site for open space purposes, and that has been taken into account into the plan change application. So the plan change has been accompanied with the proposed precinct, and this precinct, in the applicant's view, ensures that development is coordinated with infrastructure upgrades and is staged at a particular time when transport infrastructure is made available. It contains an associated urban layout and provides a connected street network, which also provides connection to future open space land that is owned by the council now. The precinct also manages the boundary with that future piece of open space to ensure that early controls are put in prior to the council using it for open space purposes. The precinct also looks to enhance riparian margins of the streams and incorporate water quality designs, and also incorporates reverse sensitivity effects on the Whenuapai Air Base and operations. On your screen there is one of the precinct plans, and this one is the staging plan, which has associated transport infrastructure upgrades as triggers in the precinct. Generally speaking, the plan change request is consistent with the Whenuapai structure plan in terms of the type of indicated land use. It is within the general timeframes of the future development strategy, so it's 1 year off or behind, so it's within the stage 1 area. The plan change does contain a number of the prerequisites listed in the FDS as well in terms of the infrastructure required to enable the land for urban purposes. Anything else you'd like to add? Yeah.
That's good.
Cool. My recommendation today is to accept the plan change for processing, and so it's appropriate for the council to accept in this circumstance. It's inappropriate for the council to adopt a plan change, and this is not the circumstances that the plan change be treated as a resource consent. So today the recommendation is for the acceptance of the plan change request from the Neo Construction Limited to proceed to notification. And that should be the conclusion of the brief presentation. Happy for questions today.
Perfect. I think it's pretty straightforward, but just check if there's any questions. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. So this is one of these plan change requests where really the grounds for our refusal are very limited, frivolous, vexatious, being processed within the last 2 years, or it has to be in accordance with sound resource management. So as in the past, we're pretty very limited on this. So I've just got a couple of questions that arise from your paper. The first one is to do with the manner in which part of this site was the subject of an application to the fast track consent process in the previous years, which was declined. Could you just give us a little bit more details as to the reason for it being refused in those circumstances?
In that circumstance, it was a 19-lot subdivision on the future urban zone land. So for a similar activity for light industry, the decision essentially spoke to the unitary plan provisions being the future urban zone, and that it was not appropriate in that application for it to proceed. So very similar in its nature, that wasn't successful in the COVID fast track legislation. So the applicant has changed through advice of the council officers to a private plan change approach. Yep. Instead, because the effects that could not be managed through that resource consent can be encapsulated in this plan change request.
Okay, thanks for that. You mentioned the council land that is adjacent to the applicant's site, which is further described as being land that we're going to use for sports fields, open space, and that is being safeguarded through any of this process then? There's going to be no unforeseen developments there. What the issue with the mitigation of flooding seems to be a bone of some contention that I'm assuming is going to be worked out through this process in terms of who might pick up the tab for that. What's the story with that one?
The very brief story with that one is the specialists are still working through the detail and the level of mitigation required. So we have enough information to determine the level of effect on the downstream properties. It's now just a matter of the specialists coming to either a final agreement or final position to proceed it forward. So something that we're comfortable that can be managed through the future process.
Thanks. Final question, and it's one that comes up with anything in Whenuapai, and there have been some rather unfortunate kind of challenges in the past in terms of the proximity to the airbase, and we know that the Air Force has always been a pretty active participant in any of these plan change processes. So there's nothing here we should know about that in terms of the site, that will be drawn out in the usual way, and we won't run the risk of reverse sensitivity or appeal against engine testing as happened one of the previous. I don't know, was it Neil? Was that the last one? Or was that someone else?
Well, I can't remember from the top of my head.
It was through our own stage one plan change, wasn't it?
Okay.
There was a process that went through a declaration for the aircraft engine testing. It might have been Neil, but I can't remember from the top of my head. Reverse sensitivity is encompassed into the precinct as well. There's they're putting forward a non-complaints covenant in terms of a standard, but importantly, the land use that is proposed on this plan change is light industry, and isn't the likes of putting residential or activity-sensitive noise straight next to an airbase that's operating. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. There are no more questions. Would you like to move that, Councillor Watson?
Just one point.
Sorry.
One point, Chair.
Yeah.
Councillor Chris Darby here. If you could just record that I'm not taking part in this item. Sorry, I should have said it at the outset, but missed the opportunity, as I may be a commissioner on this private plan change. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Watson, were you interested in moving it, or just it's in your hood, you don't have to?
Yes, I'm prepared to move.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Walker, did you want to second, or? He's been very quiet. Okay.
I will if you need somebody, Chair.
Okay, Councillor, Deputy Mayor would like to second. Right, would anyone like to speak to this one? No one wants to speak to it, so all those in favour? Any opposed? No, thank you, perfect. Thanks very much. And next up, we have item 13. This is a make operative. So we have Elizabeth and Claire. Kia ora, nice to see you both.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Elizabeth Laird. I'm a Senior Policy Planner in the Planning and Resource Consents Department for the Central South area. And I'm just going to quickly run you through Plan Change 75, which is for the Mason Clinic located within the Wairaka precinct in the old Unitec area. So just for context, this site is, the Wairaka precinct is the area outlined in red on the left hand side of the screen, which is just to the south of the Point Chef shops in the intersection of Great North Road with the motorway. And on the right you will see the subject sites within Wairaka precinct. So we have there the existing Mason Clinic in the centre, and then the sites directly to the north and to the south, which are owned by Te Whatu Ora, Health New Zealand, and are the subject of this plan change. Plan Change 75 is a private plan change request by Te Whatu Ora, which was Waitemata DHB when this came in. It is for the operation and intensification of the Mason Clinic, so to expand into those northern and southern sites, and also to redevelop the existing site because the buildings there, most of those are reaching their end of life. So the plan change rezone sites to the north and the south of the existing Mason Clinic from business mixed use zone to special purpose healthcare facility and hospital zone to enable the Mason Clinic to develop on those sites more easily. It also adjusts the sub-precinct boundaries and amends a number of provisions within the precinct to manage those interfaces between the Mason Clinic and the future residential around it. The hearing for this plan change was last year in June, and there was a decision notified in October last year. There was one appeal regarding the quantum of open space in the precinct, and a policy which the commissioners recommended to include in the precinct to manage this. This has since been settled through a consent order from the Environment Court, and that is policy 15A, which will be included in the precinct. The wider Wairaka precinct is also going through a plan change by the private plan change from the Ministry for Housing and Urban Development. The hearing for that starts on the 18th of November with expert conferencing on the 1st of November, and as you may have seen since the list came out earlier this week, the Carrington Development Wairaka precinct, it's had a number of names, is also on the fast-tracked list, which has been released, although we've had no updates regarding the status of that since then. So this is an image showing the operative zoning and the zoning that PC75 would put in place. So it's really just a rezoning of those sites directly to the north and south of the existing Mason Clinic. And this final slide shows the operative Wairaka Precinct Plan 1, and then the PC75 Precinct Plan 1, which has the extension of Sub-Precinct A to manage the Mason Clinic, and the displacement of an area of open space, which was the subject of the appeal, and which will be managed by the new policy 15A. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I'll just see if there are any questions. I think at this point of the process, it's pretty straightforward. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you both for coming in. I will get Councillor Ferry. Did you want to move? A seconder? Councillor Villafana will second. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Right, now we move on to item 14. And I'd move, and Councillor